What's happened to Miss P? That's a question I've been hearing a lot over the past 2 months, so I'm going to do my best to try to explain it for you. 4 years ago, a small, scrawny fox who was suffering from mange wandered up to my back door, and I decided to call her Miss Paulie, or Miss P for short. I gave Miss P treatment for her mange and lots of lovely good food like chicken and eggs, and she rewarded me by visiting every single night. I think it's safe to say that we became best friends, and we got closer than ever this year because I actually decided to be brave enough to try to touch her, and she let me. For 4 years, Miss P has been the definite main character of the story. If you've been around a little while, you've most definitely seen her eating honey from a spoon, and you'll have seen me try to touch her ears while she does it, with varying degrees of success.
No, 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 no. Oh, Miss P.
You might also recognise Miss P's famous honey spoon, which she loved so much, although she did get a bit careless with it.
No, the end of the spoon, Miss P.
A few months ago, Miss P discovered that she loves to bite me. Well, she loves it almost as much as I do. That's actually how I managed to pet her. I'd offer her my hand in exchange for a little quick stroke. I really miss those little love bites. Miss P is also famous for being a house fox.
What are you doing? Oh no, not behind the TV.
But there was no stopping Miss P when she wanted to go somewhere.
Oh, where are we going? This way?
I think it's safe to say that Miss P definitely made herself at home, both physically in my actual house and also in my heart.
What are you doing?
Secretly, I always hoped that she would sit down and fall asleep just because it would be so cute, but unfortunately she never did. She's still very much a wild fox, even though she enjoys coming indoors sometimes. So anyway, that's the context. Our beloved Miss P has been visiting for 4 years and barely missed a night. I think maybe in 2022 she missed a week, but that was a real blip. She just didn't do that. She always visited unless the weather was incredibly bad. But unfortunately, things changed back in October. Now, foxes have a thing called the October crazies. Foxes mate in winter and then give birth in the early spring, so by October, it's time for those babies to leave and find their own territory. I believe there's some sort of hormonal change that happens to foxes around this time, even foxes who are grown and already have their own homes. And for some reason, this really messed up my 3 foxes, who at the time were Miss P, Tiger, and Boo Boo. And Boo Boo is Miss P's sister. So aside from hearing more shrieking at night than usual, everything was normal until the 12th of October, when Miss P did not come for dinner. After skipping just one night, she was back, and she had a point to prove. Miss P ran back into my garden and proceeded to rob her scent over everything she could find. She did this for ages. I didn't get all of it on video. Foxes mark their territory with smells. It's a way of communicating to other foxes, hey, this place is taken, or, just to try to assert some dominance. I now realise that this was a clear sign that something was up with Miss P. I don't think she was upset, but something within her was saying, you need to mark your territory, you need to assert your dominance. Miss P then missed a few more nights, and weirdly, she wasn't quite as comfortable around me. She was still very happy to come up and be around me and have her kitty yogurt, but the touching just wasn't quite working. I guess the best way to describe it is just that she wasn't quite herself. Oh, and I should say that I never forced her to do anything she didn't want to. Yes, I would try multiple times to stroke her, but if she wasn't having it, she wasn't having it. End of story. As well as her mysterious absences, I noticed a change in how she was around the other foxes. And, okay, let's do another flashback for context. When Tiger first arrived on the scene, this territory belonged to Bruiser, and Bruiser was married to Miss P's mum, Tinytail. So Miss P really wasn't happy that this new boy was sniffing around and causing a lot of trouble. Trouble that usually included stealing Miss P's dinner right out from under her. At first, she did put up a pretty good fight. But then, when Tiger was trying to really consolidate his position as the new leader, he was being awful. He was stealing from her all the time and not even letting her eat anything. So that's when I started chasing him off. As you can probably hear from Miss P's grumbles, she was not happy. And even though Boo Boo has always been in love with Tiger, he stole from her as well.
Oh, here he comes.
As you can see, I had to step in because she was sick of him. Some of you might not know, but I had to chase Tiger away every single night because otherwise he just wouldn't let her eat.
He's so rude.
But a couple of months after I had to cut Tiger off, he did redeem himself, and Miss P made it pretty clear that she liked him. And after that, their relationship was completely different. Tiger no longer stole from Miss P. He was happy to get his own food and to let her have hers as well. Although I do think Tiger and Boo Boo have always had a much stronger connection, it seemed like Miss P was really holding her own against Tiger. In fact, she wore the trousers. Because if Tiger came up to get his own food while Miss P was eating, she was having none of it. Look at him try to get this egg. She tells him to back off, and he does. And then after a while, when he decides to try again, he's too scared. He has to chicken out. She didn't even have to say anything. When I moved the egg to the other side, Tiger did come and get it because it was far away from Miss P. But she wasn't happy.
That wasn't so bad, was it?
The tables had turned. Now she was the one who didn't want to share. So this is Miss P eating chicken while Tiger's coming up closer and then Boo Boo is watching her from the grass. As you can see, she is very confident. All she cares about is her meal. She doesn't feel threatened. She doesn't care that they're watching her. She's just doing her thing. So that's how things were before the October crazies set in. Although Miss P obviously has a very good relationship with Tiger and they enjoy each other's company, and I should also say they did mate together back in spring, although it didn't produce any cubs. And Miss P seems to have a very good relationship with her sister Boo Boo because they do hang out together. Something changed, and suddenly Miss P wasn't comfortable anymore. Because when she did visit me, she seemed skittish on the patio, like she wasn't comfortable. She'd grab her food and run off with it instead of just eating it like she always used to. It seemed like something just wasn't right.
You're not back to scaring my girl, are you?
When he got to the garden, he ran at her, and she cried.
You know she's my special girl.
It's very difficult to judge fox relationships because I only see what happens here on my doorstep. Who knows what's going on between them behind the scenes? But I definitely felt some tension. Because look at what happens once Tiger takes the egg. He leaves, and that's the problem gone. But Miss P still looks nervous. Everything about her, just her movements, her speed, it just doesn't seem right.
Baby, you can have your own egg, look. Are you okay?
Since when does Miss P have to look over her shoulder? She'd always just go grab her food. Although Miss P being grumpy in Tiger and Boo Boo's presence is not unheard of, it definitely felt different this time. But don't get me wrong, I never saw Boo Boo or Tiger lay even a finger on Miss P. Never saw them chase her, properly upset her, anything like that. It was all just in Miss P's attitude. For example, this is her over summer, so well before we had any of the October crazies. This is her being confident, but her being quiet and skittish is very different.
I know you're friends. You don't need to put on such a show. Nice burp.
So Miss P had a few weird visits where she was a bit skittish and she would grab her chicken and run off with it rather than hanging around. She also started eating a bit less in general.
You okay?
Not in a worrying way. I don't think there was anything medically wrong with her or she was poorly, anything like that. She just didn't feel like eating it. I don't know why. Also, it's important to know that even though Miss P kept running off with her food, Tiger and Boo Boo never chased her. So it wasn't that she was scared of them stealing her food because they never tried it. They'd just wait for their own.
Hey guys, it's your turn.
Looking back on it now, it's almost like Miss P was really concerned about Tiger and Boo Boo, but they just didn't even care about her really. Which I think brings me quite nicely to my theory about where Miss P is and what's happened to her. The last time I saw Miss P with my own eyes in the flesh was the 24th of October. She hadn't been around for the 3 nights before that, and so when she came back I was so happy. I thought she was back for good and that finally the October crazies were over. But they weren't.
You've got that perfectly rested. What a clever girl.
This is the last proper video I have of Miss P. The sad reality of all animals, particularly wild ones, is that they die. I've had many foxes come and go over the years, so I'm used to this, and I've been preparing myself for a very long time now. But tell me honestly, does this look like a poorly girl? I don't think so. And we know nothing bad happened to her immediately after this, because she showed up on the wildlife camera 2 weeks later. I'll overlay the clips of that while Miss P runs off with her egg. On the 11th of November, Miss P visited my garden when I was out, so I didn't get to see her. But she looks completely healthy and not at all stressed, just chilling. This proves that Miss P didn't leave because she was ill or because she got hit by a car or there was a tragedy, nothing like that. She left through choice. And okay, yeah, it's possible that maybe Boo Boo and Tiger have pushed her out, but I never saw anything in their behaviour to suggest that they were doing that. And from Tiger's perspective, as a male fox, the more girls the merrier, so he'd have no reason to get rid of her.
Oh.
So, do you want to hear my theory? You know how earlier I said that foxes like to scent mark things to claim them? Well, when Miss P first started acting weirdly in October, she was a bit stinky. I thought it was her natural musk at first, but then I realised, what if some boy fox was scent marking her? So I don't think Tiger and Boo Boo have pushed Miss P away. I think she's found herself a boyfriend. Back when she first arrived, Miss P used to be relentlessly bullied by a girl called Fifth Fox, and she hated Miss P's guts. Fifth used to bite her tail all the time.
Look, it's Boo Boo. It's your sister.
Miss P has stayed visiting me while 3 different fox families have taken over the garden. So if she's decided to leave now, it's because she wanted to.
And Tiger.
I truly believe that for Miss P to give up her kitty yogurt, her Manuka honey, and her everyday chicken, she'd have to have a very, very good reason. And although she's very fond of Tiger, everyone knows that Boo Boo is Tiger's girlfriend. Miss P has never had a boyfriend of her own. She's never been a boy's number one. So I think she's met a boy who will finally put her first, and she's left to be with him. But who might that boy be? Well, it's definitely not Tiger. But what about Fred?
Excuse me? Who are you?
He's the fox who I saw for the first time ever when he followed Miss P inside to try and mate with her. Which has got to be the #1 best night of my life with these foxes. It was so funny.
Come in here, Miss P. Come on. Come on. Not you.
So maybe Miss P is back in contact with Fred, named after Fred Astaire because of his sick dance moves. Or could it be that Miss P has got together with a much more familiar face? Could it be our former best boy, Bruiser? Bruiser and Miss P are not blood relations. In fact, I think Miss P is actually older than him. But Bruiser's mate was Tiny Tail, who is Miss P's mum, so she was sort of like a stepdaughter. Well, poor Tiny Tail was getting on a bit. She was definitely an old girl. So if she's passed on, maybe Bruiser was hooked up with Miss P. They certainly have a lot of history together, even if it's not all positive.
Bruiser? Oh!
And all you tiger haters thought he was a saint, didn't you?
No.
Although Bruiser's appetite did sometimes get the better of him, I think he and Miss P did care for each other. Although, for the most part, it might have been an unrequited crush on Miss P's side. But they did mate together. So, even though Bruiser was clearly filled with regret afterwards, I think there could be a foundation for love there. So, that's all the information I have for you. Miss P started visiting less in October. She eventually stopped coming at all, but she seemed fine on the camera. And it's not like her to leave her food behind, so it must be her own choice to do it. I wish I could say more and actually confirm that she's okay. The truth is, we don't know, and we probably will never know. Once foxes stop visiting, they generally don't return. Maybe we will be lucky and Miss P will come back to us, but I just don't think we can get our hopes up. It's not likely. Unless Miss P does come back, her life from now on will forever be a mystery to us. While, yes, the worst could have happened, why would you want to believe that? I much prefer thinking of her having a boyfriend, living her best life, maybe having cubs in the spring. If I never get to see Miss P again, I'll always have the memories with her. And I'll always treasure the time that she was mine and I was hers. I love you forever, Miss P.